All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our call here. It is February 27th, almost into March. Weather's starting to warm up and the days are getting longer. This is kind of one of my favorite times of year. I hate that when you look outside at 5 o'clock and it's dark. It's like that just kills me for some reason. Anyway, once again, welcome to the call here. Looks like we got a lot of regulars on here today. I'm surprised there's a bunch of new people that have just come into the system. I'm surprised they're not bouncing in here also. Let's see here. Let me look at the chat. Hello, Gregory. How's it going? All right. So I want to kind of open it up right away and let you guys come out and let me know what's on your mind. Where can I be of assistance here?
May I?
Sure. Go ahead, Gregory.
Well, I was a member of City Club, and for 2 years I was chasing those people around. And
I remember.
right, and my wife what was harping on me, says, your biggest problem is you talk about the market, you talk about doing this and that, but you're still driving a 16-year-old car. And you're walking in with a $150 suit and you're looking at $400 suits. So subconsciously, I was not impressing them because of the fact is I wasn't showing it to proof. All right, fast forward, we know I left the club. I got the proof now on the YouTube, and I was at and then the club has public events. So I was at a public event last week, and this one woman who she's sort of like off on friendly, whatever. But so at the club, oh, how are you? And I said, what are you doing? Got my YouTube channel, and here's my card, and check out my channel. And that was it. Nice to see you over. As I'm walking out, she's chasing me down the hall. And it was like, well, wait a minute. 2 years I was here talking about the market, and never once you ever approached me, and now I walk in with a card and YouTube channel, and now you're chasing me. And as soon as she did that, you came to mind and said, there it is. The proof is now manifesting itself. So
yeah. So the big thing there, the big takeaway of that, I don't think it was as much your suit or your car. I think that your wife would have been much happier if you just had a call to action and you got those people to move. That's the biggest thing. Like, I know there's some people that think appearances are everything. And in some cases they are. I'm not going to discount that at all, because in some cases they are. But like for myself included, I have made some judgments about people that were incredibly wrong. I remember, and I've probably told this story before. Me and my brother, we had an office, actually not an office, a manufacturing plant over here the other side of Huntington Beach when we were just kids. And I remember one day I came in and I was getting ready to go out to get some lunch. And I noticed this old guy in the parking lot, down on his hands and knees. He had old beat up, it was like a station wagon. And, just old ratty shoes and clothes. And he's down on his hands and knees picking weeds out of the planter. And I went back in and I told my brother, I said, hey, you want anything for lunch? I'm going to go pick up lunch and I'm going to get something for this guy. And he's like, what guy? I'm like, yeah, this old guy, out here pulling weeds. I'm going to go get him lunch. I'll just surprise him. And my brother started laughing at me. He goes, yeah, I wouldn't feel too sorry for him. He owns this building and just about every building on this street. I'm like, really? I'm like, what the hell is he doing down on his hands and knees picking weeds? And he said, that's just what he likes to do. That gives him enjoyment. I'm like, okay, well, I guess he can buy his own lunch then. But, that's just an example. But I can also tell you, too, that for me personally, I don't dress up. I mean, any of you guys that know me know that, I very rarely I almost never wear shoes. And, it's almost been a joke in the last 20 years with me is I don't dress to impress by any means. And it has not stopped me from too many things, I don't think. I think it's actually gotten me more opportunity just because of my confidence in the way I carry myself. It's like, if you don't want to work with me because I don't have a pair of shoes on, that's okay with me. It's not me missing out. I'm the one that's got something of value that you're going to miss out on. And I think when you have that feeling inside you, I think it just resonates. And I think more than anything, I think that is what has made people want to work with me over all these years. So it's the confidence, and also when it comes down to business, you have to have a system in place to do business. I think a lot of people get confused on what business is. Business is the transfer of one thing for another. I mean, in its most simplistic form, anything that has to do with business it's just that. It's a transfer of one thing for another. Might be selling a product, and the transfer is the product moving from one person to the other, and money moving from that person to the other. It might be a service, it might be time, it could be anything, but everything outside of that is not really business. A lot of people are claiming that they're in business, but they're not selling anything. They're not collecting money. They're not transferring anything in exchange for dollars. And that's the biggest problem. I see this so often. It's crazy. You have to have a system. And another problem too, people move from what I call the real world. They're out there in the real world, they got jobs and what have you. And even in a job, it's the same thing. You're showing up every day, you're transferring your time, and they're transferring money to you. That's business. It's kind of what makes the world go round. But here's the deal. You go from the real world environment and you open your own business, and now you're your own boss, and you don't take the things that worked in the real world and bring them with you. In the real world, I guarantee you that company that you worked for, I guarantee you they had processes in place to generate money. They had salespeople, they had systems, they had processes of what I call the whole marketing enchilada. It's what the ACT program is. It's grab attention. It's those four things. They have a system of grabbing attention, creating demand and desire, eliminating objections, and making an offer. That's where the money's transacted. That's where you're moving the this for that. And so many people, they get online, they start their own business, they open a website, what have you, and they don't bring that system with them. So they struggle, and they spend a lot of time, and they do a lot of things, and they're busy. They're definitely busy. They look like they're doing good, but the money's not coming through. And that's what business is all about. If you want to start a business, a lot of people have this misconception of, open a website, put up a website, I'm going to make money while I sleep. Maybe I'm not going to say it can't happen, but I am going to say it's not going to happen if you don't have a process that ever worked in real life. I've never seen anything work online that didn't work first in the real world. Look at businesses. One of the big chunks of ACT right up front is competitor analysis. The A of ACT is analysis, and analyzing competitors. If you're new in business, that's okay. You don't have to have a PhD and do 4 years of school and all that to learn business. All you have to do is find a competitor that's doing what you want to do and model them. Tony Robbins talks about that in all of his seminars. He said, if somebody's got something you want, you have to look at how they got it and do the same thing. So that's where analysis comes in. Look at your competitors, look at their processes. How are they grabbing attention? You know, typically they're doing that with advertisements. They might be doing it with social media, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Just take note of it and recognize what they're doing. You know, they're making money and you're not, so there is a clear difference. So you want to know what is the difference. That's why we do the analysis. That's why we look at them. And I have a very, very detailed analysis process for competitor research. You know, all the stuff to look for, all the stuff to see what they're doing. And it all relates to, guess what? Exactly what you should be doing. You know, it's how do they grab attention? How do they create demand and desire? How are they doing it? You know, is it a one-step process? Are they stretching it out? A lot of times, if it's a higher dollar sale, that sales process will be stretched out. It'll be a longer cycle. They call it a sales cycle. So, you know, that's the biggest thing. And oftentimes when I see you know, somebody in business that's struggling, they're having trouble with the transacting of money. They're having trouble, you know, transferring this for that. And it's generally because they don't have a process. They never had one, and they're just expecting it to work. They're just expecting something to happen, and you know, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to go to work, and you know, I'm going to go to my new office, and money's just going to fall from the sky. You know, about the only thing I have to say for that is good luck with that. Let me know how that works for you. I haven't seen that work yet. Um, you know, there's some people that start businesses and they truly just get lucky. You know, sometimes being in the right place at the right time, but that's not something that we can depend on. That's not something you should lean on by any means. Even if that's happened to you, sometimes that can be a curse because everything changes. You know, if you've been in business for very long, you know things change. A lot of times, whatever you're selling or whatever you're doing, it'll hit a point where it doesn't work anymore, and you've got to change. I mean, I've had that over my lifetime multiple times, many, many times. Whatever I was doing was great at the time, but you know, it changes, and all of a sudden that opportunity disappears. Here's the danger if you just get lucky and you have a business out of luck. The problem is when things change, you don't know what was actually working to begin with because it was just by luck. So when it changes, you could really be hurt because you don't know how to fix it. You don't know what was really working and why. That's the danger in luck in business. You know, it's great. I mean, you know, take what you can get, but that's the danger of it. So, I mean, I've had it all the way back to the time when I was a kid. I had, you know, one of my first businesses was I was doing stuff for a neighbor that had a business doing computerized ignition for car systems. And, you know, I was probably only about 12 years old, but my mom worked for him seasonally packing his envelopes for his mailers for a big trade show that he went to. And one day, you know, I was off of school and she had to go do that thing called a job, and she took me with her. So I'm in there, she's doing her thing, stuffing the envelopes and all that. And I'm actually talking to the business owner, and he's showing me around his shop. And I noticed he had this big pile of these little computerized ignition systems, which is what they sold for automobiles. And I asked him, I said, what's this? You know, and he said, those are computers that got returned. He said most of them probably worked. People just didn't know how to hook them up. And I said, well, what are you going to do with them? And he said, well, I'm going to just throw them away. And for some reason, I asked him, I said, well, you know, could I have a couple of them to play with? And he said, sure. So he gave me a few, and I took them home. And in talking to my dad, he said, you know, he says, I can design a system for you that you can build this thing, and it will test them and see if they actually work or not. So we did that, and that started, you know, one of my first successful businesses. I went back to that guy and I said, look, I can test these and tell you which ones are truly bad. We throw those away. The good ones, I can clean them up, put new stickers on them, repaint them, package them, resell them. You know, he resold them in seconds. And it was awesome. You know, I was kicking butt. I was doing it by the piece. I told him I'd do it for $1 a piece. And I was doing them in assembly line. I was making about 20 bucks an hour, you know, as a 12-year-old kid. And something radical changed, and it ended that. And part of it, this was another big lesson for me. Uh, I was too helpful. As I was doing this, I recognized, because, you know, my dad was an electronical engineer, so he was more or less homeschooling me in electronics at a very young age. So one of the things that I realized was the reason that these things were blowing up was the people would hook them up backwards. You know, the positive negative wires, they would swap them, and as soon as they touched the battery backwards, it would send the current the wrong way into the computer, and it would blow up this little chip that was in it. It would just boom, it was gone, it was toast. So what I realized was you could put a diode in that system, and then the electricity could not go backwards, it could only go one way. So if they hook it up the wrong way, protects the computer, and if it doesn't work, they just swap the wires and now they're in business. So when I shared that with the business owner, he changed his instructions, and guess what? They had almost no returns. None of them were coming back. And it was great for him, but I was out of a job. I was out of business. So you know, that was a pretty good life lesson for me, even at that age. But it's proof things change. And if you don't know what was successful about the business that you had when things changed, you won't be able to create a new one. It'll be really hard. That's where, you know, you can go to struggle after struggle. So, you know, I mean, I just have a ton of those stories growing up because I've done all kinds of stuff. Really, you know, I went from one to the next, so I saw change. I saw a lot of change. The business that I own today, it didn't start off with the internet because it started before the internet. I was a commercial photographer at a studio. We did special effects, made really, really good money. It was a great business. I mean, it was part luck just the way I got in because of the connections that I had. My ease of access to it was really easy. So I consider that lucky, but I also knew why it was good and all of that. And then this little thing called Photoshop came out, and I'm like, oh shit, this whole thing is about to crumble. This is, you know, I've got like a 1, maybe 2 year window here, and this is going to be over. And knowing, you know, knowing all my lessons of the past, I'm like, okay, well, I don't want that to happen. I need to start shifting before that happens. That's how I moved that whole business from commercial photography into internet services. I already had the customer base. I just had to make a little shift, and away I went, and here I am now. So, and again, even this business, you know, SEO, as you guys know, that one shifts too. That'll shift right out from under your feet. And I believe that's probably what's made me successful for the duration I've been successful with it, is I expect it to change. I know what's happening, and I know when it changes, I know how to fix it. So it's just part of my fabric, I guess. So anyway, that was a hell of a long route around, Gregory, to tell you you need a process to ask for money. But you definitely need to, anything that you guys are doing, you need to have a process to show what you've got, show the value. That's building demand and desire, and eliminating any possible objections that the person that you're presenting this to might have, and then actually asking them if that sounds right for them. You can do it in a number of ways. It's very non-pushy. Like, for instance, one of my favorites, I learned this from Eric Laughlin. It's so simple. It is such a simple close. It's ridiculous. When you feel that the person has enough information and they're interested enough and you feel the objections are all gone, all you have to do is say, does that sound like something you want to move forward with? That's it. I mean, that's pretty simple. I think we can all do that. If you're talking to somebody that is interested in what you've got, and you just simply ask, does that sound like something you want to move forward with? And then the key to it is to zip it. You don't say anything after that. You let the person's brain process the question. And sometimes it will be almost instant, and sometimes it will be a very long, uncomfortable time. And I've seen this over and over. Um, I had a kid that was working for me, and we were doing a trade show, and I was trying to teach him how to do sales. And one of the things, I left him at the booth. I showed him how, the ropes. I left him at the booth, and I went, on my way for several hours. And I came back and I said, well, how many sales have you made? And he said, I haven't made any. And I'm like, how many people have you talked to? He said, I've been talking since you left. I'm like, okay, well, let me just sit in the back and observe. So I let him do his thing. I said, you just keep doing whatever you were doing. Just don't bother me, don't mind me. I just sat in the back corner of the booth, back far enough I didn't draw any attention, so nobody wanted to talk to me. They were all talking to him. What I noticed was he was overselling. He was taking people that were interested, and he was talking and talking and talking until they were no longer interested. And I'm like, oh, whoa, okay, I see the problem here. I went back, I pulled him aside. I said, okay, here's the deal. You're talking too much. And I know that I told you to talk, but you're talking too much. I said, when you see the person leaning in, I said, when you've given them, you don't need to tell them everything. You need to hit some key points to see if they're interested. And then, in the conversation, you can ask them, is there, do you see any downside to this? And get their words. And then if they tell you there's a downside to it, that's your objection. You can turn it around, eliminate it. And when you feel you've got it done, all you have to do is say, would you like to move forward with that now? Or is this something you'd like to move forward with? And then don't say another word. And so I gave him those instructions. He went back to the table, first person up. He did exactly what I told him. And he asked the person, so do you want to move forward with that? And the person didn't say anything. And he was just kind of standing, they were standing face to face, kind of a, blank stare. And the kid that I was working with, I could see he was getting really uncomfortable, and I just stepped next to him and I put my hand on his shoulder just to calm him down because I didn't want him to say anything. It just was gonna calm him down, like it's okay, I didn't say it, but I said it, with my hand on his shoulder, and he did. He stayed silent, and it took like I think it was over a minute. It was a very long time. And the first thing that the person said was, do you take Visa? That was it. That minute he was not saying anything, he was processing. He was going through it in his mind, and it took him over a minute to do that. The wheels were turning, and if either one of us would have said a word, we would have thrown a wrench in those gears that were turning, and we would have blown the whole process. So it's really important that they have the chance to process the the call to action. And if they ask something, they'll either say yes or no. Sometimes they'll ask a question like that, do you take Visa? That was a question that we just hadn't answered, so it was a pseudo objection. It wasn't really an objection, it was just kind of a question. Generally, objections will be because there's a misunderstanding. They didn't understand something, or something wasn't answered, so there's an open objection. That's really the only thing that gets in the way of a sale is any remaining objections left on the table. So that was it. Do you take Visa? Yes, absolutely. Well, great. I would like to do it. And then boom, there's the order form. Game over. But it's like really looking at your process. If your process is not asking for the order in the appropriate time, if you're waiting too long to ask for, for the close or the call to action, you could literally be turning the person off. I see a lot of salespeople that do that. They just go on and on and on, and it's just like, okay, close the deal already. Especially, when you talk about your avatar, understanding who your avatar is. There are some avatars that value their time highly. I happen to be one of them. When I get a salesperson that goes on and on and on, I just lose interest really quickly with them. When somebody rambles, I just like my eyes roll back in my head. It's like, oh my God, let's get to the point, or let's get, how much is it? What are we talking about? Give me the deal. Throw the skinny on the table and let's look at it. So you have to understand, who you're talking to. If you're talking to somebody that's not like that, and they need more information, they need more nurturing and all that, that's a different story. It's a different presentation. It's a different avatar. So understanding your avatar, and when you are working face to face, like you're out, you're networking and all that, that is really a luxury, because you have the ability to change your process on the fly. When you're doing this online, you don't have that luxury, so it's a little bit more difficult. But the key is figure out what works face to face, what works in the real world, and then you create an online marketing funnel that repeats that. It just duplicates that process. So that's how you scale things up. You all probably know you only have so much time in the day, and if it requires your time to close those sales, there's only so many of those opportunities that are on the table. When you automate that process online, that's where you have the ability to scale beyond your capability. That's where real money can be made. You find a system that works in the real world, you automate it, you scale it, you drive traffic to it. And that's where businesses explode. That's where business owners get very wealthy very quickly. That's how they do it. They don't do it the old-fashioned way, one-on-one. Not very often. So that's what you want to look at, is what process is going to work for me and my business, and how do I replicate that? That's something I'm really good at. If you show me a process that's working for you in the real world, I can pretty much show you how to automate that. So, and I'm happy to do it too, and happy to do it live on these calls for you right on the fly, so everyone else can learn from it. So if you guys have situations, definitely bring them out. Don't be afraid to ask anything you want on this call. I'm here for you every week. Happy to do it. All right, who's got something here to pop out with? Russ.
Hey, John.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Awesome.
I have a question about Google My Business.
Okay.
Okay, so I was listening to Brian's webinar last week,
Yeah.
and he
I
was
was
talking about.
bummed I didn't get to see that yet.
Oh, you didn't get to see it yet?
I've been so behind on stuff. I haven't even seen it myself.
You had your ACT program out there, right?
Yeah. I was training the people in ACT, and Chris was on the webinar doing the webinar with them.
Okay. So anyway, he was talking about keywords.
Okay.
And I don't understand how keywords affects Google My Business, because if you go into Google My Business, there's no setting area to insert keywords like there would be
Gotcha.
for ads or something like that.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, Google My Business, think about this. This is part of Google. So whether it's Google My Business or Google Search or YouTube, they're all pieces of Google, and Google is all based on keywords. basically what Google is, it's like a massive library of content, whether it be videos or web pages or listings of businesses. And that's what Google My Business is. It's a business listing. They give you a free website. And that's where, when you sign up for Google My Business and you go fill out the profile, that's really, they consider that an online website. So they're giving every business owner the opportunity for a free website. That
That was,
website
yeah,
can be,
that was gonna be my question. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but they
sure,
talk about a website, and that website, it's not your website, it's a website that they apparently they host.
correct.
And
It's like when you put in a business name over on the right, you'll see the business come up and it's got its own listing and it's graphical. That's like a web page in a frame. That's the Google My Business web page that's sitting over on the right side of their listings in a frame. And then you can click on it and go into it. It's also connected to your actual website. Look, there's usually a website button right on it. And it goes right in there. Are you familiar with that?
no, I'm in there looking at my business now. It's a website, and it's called, your business name dot business dot site is the URL, and then I haven't messed with it at all. It says it's published, but I don't know where people. Well, it says not published yet. I don't know where people would see it, and what's the purpose of having that
Oh,
website when you have your own website.
okay, gotcha. It's just you don't really need another website, but it's Google's way of categorizing businesses by their own structure of a website. They're saying like, okay, every business on the planet can sign up and get this website. It's a template, obviously, so they're all going to be the same. But now what they have is they have a very structured catalog of businesses that all look and feel the same because they're all in the same template. And that way they can look at that template and they can basically, they have an algorithm that will figure out what this website is about. That's where the keywords come from. So I'll share my screen here for those of you that don't know what we're talking about here. If you go to Google and you put your name in, like your company name, I just put my company name in here, Internet Dominators. Over here on the right, this is the Google My Business. So this is the web page that Google gave me, and you just have to fill it out. There's all kinds of stuff. You can put your address, you can put your hours of operation, your phone number, and then they give you reviews. There's all kinds of stuff that you can configure in here. You can connect all your social media stuff, and you can also you can post content in here. When you log into your account, there'll be a post button, and you can actually post almost like a blog. And then when you do that, I haven't done it lately, but it would show up right here, like recent posts. And like I can probably go here, view updates on Google, updates from Internet Dominators. That would show my posts.
So where's the website that you created inside Google My Business?
Well, this is it. This right
Oh,
here is the website. There's the map. You can configure a map. It'll show photos. Like this is a Google photo of, somebody will go by the address and shoot a photograph of it.
yeah, I don't think that's the website. That's just Google My listing, because I have the same thing. It shows photos you add to Google My Business, has the address and everything like that.
Yeah, yeah.
The website's something different.
And then see there, it'll pop up the maps for you.
Yeah.
But this is like what Google's considering this a website that they give to you. Now I've connected it to my own website as well. So, you can go in here and you can see the photos. And you can load up all the stuff that you want to put in here. You can load up, whatever photos that you've got of your business. Crazy stuff. That's my
Garden's looking
jungle.
nice.
That's my jungle outside of my house there.
Looking good.
So this is you know, that's the tiki hut where we do our training a lot of times. You know,
Yeah,
when people come out to the house. You've been there, you've been in the hut.
I've been there. Looking good.
But anyway, you know, the more photos that you load in there, the more content that you put on this Google My Business page, the more relevant it becomes to Google.
Yeah, but I don't think you have the website designed. At least I'm not seeing it. If you go into if you log into your business account, you'll click on the website on the left. You'll see that it opens up a whole like web interface that it's asking you to create a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
I have what you have, but I haven't done the website, and mine looks identical to yours.
yeah. But this is where all that information that you put in there, this is where it populates right here.
So where would you put the keyword?
The keywords are just in the content. You're not physically putting keywords in like tags. You're just like you write a post and you put keywords into the post content.
But I don't see any keyword, any post there.
And inside there, it's I did an actual training on how to do the posts inside there, and it's been so long ago, I don't remember. I rarely get in here into the Google My Business stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But when you create a post, you just, you know, you're writing an article, Google's picking out the keywords of how relevant the article is to whatever it contains. And then what happens with that is the maps now can become relevant to those keywords. Like, see right here, internet marketing service in Huntington Beach. That they're asking you, you know, what your business, what kind of business it is, where it is, all that. Those all become keywords. So it's just the content that you're putting in. That's the same as optimizing a website. You know, when you do your on-page optimization, there's certain things that you're putting in to make it relevant. So Google lists it. It's the same thing here with your Google My Business account, your maps and all of that. It's all based on content. Google like looks at the content inside the shell and it has to figure out what is this relevant to. And of all the gazillion sites out there, who's the most relevant for which keywords, and that's who's going to show up at the top.
So you're saying you went into Google My Business and you clicked on the left-hand side website, and you created a website within Google My Business.
Yeah, Google My Business itself creates a website. That is the website I'm talking about. So that's where it is basically. Like let's see here. So there's the Google My Business account. So when you click on that, it will show. Oh, I'm in a different account. This isn't the account that is for that, but it'll show your locations. So this is just a couple of customers' accounts. I'm logged into the wrong one, but anyway, you know, you can manage locations, which is where we are, and then you can go in there and
yeah. So go down on the left side where it says website, right there. Okay, so that person there has a website created.
Yeah.
Unless they're linking it to their website.
Yeah, but see all of this stuff, the call now, the get directions, this is all the same stuff that's populating on that Google page we were just looking at.
Right.
And then they might actually give you a URL where it says share. No, I didn't want that. Well, there it is. There it is right there. So they're using .site as the.
Right, that's what I was saying before. That's what I was saying before, that they create a website that's called business.site.
Yeah. There's so many things behind the hood on Google. It's crazy to try to even keep track of it. But yeah, so they're creating this website, but all of the content that's in here is what is creating that other site in the frame inside the Google search. So when you populate this, when you put the content in here, That's where it's, that's what's the optimization part right here.
Okay.
So that's where it's all coming from. Let's see here. So we go back to home. Somewhere on here is the thing where you can put a post in. There's where you can do reviews. Put reviews on there.
So the keyword stuff would be inside where that website area was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then let's see, messaging. Verify. Okay, yeah. So this one's not verified yet. That's why we can't get to certain things. Verified or reply, yeah. That's probably why this one isn't allowing the posting too. In mine, I know there's a box right here to, post new content. You can put a post almost like a blog, and
Really?
when you do that, yeah, it puts it right onto the page that that you're in. It's pretty cool. Let me see. Just kind of looking around in here to see if I can find it. Uh, yeah, Google's fickle, trying to keep me in this one. I have to completely log out and log back into a different account to get to what I was talking about. But anyway, it's in there, the post thing, and I actually have one of the trainings, one of the calls I went through and actually showed how to do the post in there. And I think I even added it into the training area too. But that's how you optimize that. It's all based on content. There's not necessarily a place to put in keywords, I think, but the keywords are pulled automatically right out of the content.
Okay.
Okay, Chris wants to know how to insert Google My Business and link it to Karta. There's not really a connection between Karta and Google My Business. Google My Business is basically, it's just like a site. Like, let's say you create a page on Facebook, and now you have a Facebook page. Google My Business is just the same thing on Google. You're just creating an asset that gives you another ability to have something to rank. And it's the same thing. You optimize it just like you optimize anything else online with content. The more content you put in, the more relevant it is, the more specific and all of that, and then Google will rank it better. It's basically looking at all the other stuff and it's stacking up points. Just like in the SEO game, everything is based on points. Some things carry more weight than others, but at the end of the day, whoever has the most points is going to win. So filling it out completely is a big thing. Making sure it's verified is a big thing. And that's what that training was. The training that they did the other day, that was all based on the maps and the Google My Business by a guy that's all he does. So like I said, I didn't get a chance to see his webinar and the training and all that, but that's his deal. That's his whole deal. All right, let's see. So Chris is asking if it's better to SEO than our WordPress site. No, it's not. It's not anything better. It's just another asset. Google does like their own properties though, and when you connect them together, like you noticed on mine when I showed it, when I put Internet Dominators in Google search, and my business page popped up on the right there, my listing, it had a link to my website. The connection between those two, like if you want your Google My Business to rank better, the link between that and your website is important, because if your website doesn't rank, Google's not going to rank your Google My Business page very well. You know, there's a heavy connection between how your website ranks and how your Google My Business page is going to rank. You know, if your website's not worthy of ranking, then they probably assume, well, the business isn't worthy of ranking either. So that's something that you can, we've seen that a lot too. They also call it the 3-pack. When your business is shown in the 3-pack at the top of Google, that's another feature of that. Like when you have the maps and the Google My Business and all that, you have the ability to rank in what's called the 3-pack. And what we've seen with SitePop, like when we're using SitePop to promote sites, we're increasing the rank in everything on the website. When the website's connected to a Google My Business account, all of a sudden those things start showing up in the 3-pack now, because it's increasing the value of the assets across the board. So I think, well, I know there's definitely a connection between the two. So the better the ranking for the you know, for the one, the better for the other. So that's just the way it goes. All right. Other questions? All right, guys.
Can you show a example of the 3-pack on your screen there, John?
Let's see. Let me see if I can. I don't think there was one for.
You can use my domain if you like.
Okay. Oh, I guess I got to share my screen here so you can see it, right?
Yeah, that would help.
Okay. All right. So here we go. Let me shrink that and get rid of that. Okay. So I just put local pizza in here. And this is in Google. This is the 3-pack right here. So it's showing relevant businesses to this keyword. And then it's also showing them on the map. So like the 039, that's right there. The Joey's Pizza, that's right there. And the Round Table is right there. Now notice there's also other ones. There's other dots, but they're not showing up in the 3-pack.
So the 3-pack you're referring to is specifically for Google Maps.
Correct.
So if you're an online e-commerce store that you're servicing worldwide and you're just like a mail order, online business, the 3-pack or Google Maps isn't such a big deal.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
This is mostly for local businesses. The 3-pack is generally based around local business.
Gotcha.
Because it's connected to the maps are connected to the Google My Business account, that's connected to your website. And when all of those are optimized together in harmony, that's when you show up in the 3-pack here.
Right.
Now, if you click on the map itself, it will blow it up and it'll give you a lot more than 3. It'll show them all over the place. But if you don't have a maps listing and you don't have a Google My Business account opened up, you won't have the possibility to even be here. So once you get into the map, there's a whole bunch. It's a lot more than 3. But when you do the the search in Google itself for the local pizza, it's going to show you the 3.
Now I understand a little better. I thought I'm just thinking outside the box that a 3-pack would be Google My List, Google My Business on the right side. I have Google Images on the top. I have Google Ads maybe down below that, and then I have search listings below that.
Yeah. See, now Google has different output for different keywords. This is part of their artificial intelligence. They know when we're looking for local pizza, they know what we want. Their artificial intelligence says, oh, they're looking for a pizza place near them. Let's see where they are. Let's display a map and let's show them the top 3. Now, if you put a business name in, What's the business name you're listed under?
UV-blocker.
UV. Okay, so we put UV-blocker in there, and it's showing stuff related to products because it knows that you're a product.
So if you scroll down a little bit.
There's an ad.
Okay.
Here's another thing that they show is this is common questions. This is the Q&A box. This is another opportunity that you've got to rank. When you answer questions, like when your site answers common questions, you have an ability to rank here. This is what a lot of times is called position 0 because it's usually at the top. Right now, your actual site trumps it, which is, that's pretty solid. When your site trumps the Q&A box, that's pretty darn good.
So when I do it on mine, my Google business shows up on the right, so that's even another spot. For some reason, Google My Business is not showing up on yours, and maybe that's because it's not local to where you are.
Yeah, that's more than likely. And again, this has to do with Google's AI. They are figuring out the intent of every user. And if they know that you're on the other side of the country, they're probably not going to show me your business like I would want to go walk through the door.
Okay.
So that's another thing that you guys should really kind of keep in mind is, and I've done this live on the calls before. We'll have everybody on the call run a particular search and then compare the results. And a lot of times they're all over the place.
Well, they are all over the place, and I understand why just by looking at your screen and looking at my screen. And
yeah,
to tell you the truth, that the webinar last week with Brian, he didn't show anything. I mean, he was talking and talking and talking. He didn't show one screen. And when he kept talking about the 3-pack, I kept texting on the message box. I'm like, what's a 3-pack? What's a 3-pack?
yeah.
My definition of a 3-pack is I'm looking at the business listing. I'm looking at the products like you're seeing there. Then below that, you see the ad. Then below that, you see search listings.
Yeah, and Google is showing what they think you're interested in. Like, since I put UV blocker, they know that's a product. And for me, since I'm not local to you, they figure, oh, he wants the product. So they're actually showing me product pictures.
Okay.
Shopping.
Yep. So it's all relative to what you type in and where you are.
Correct.
Yeah. See, that's what was misleading on Brian's webinar is he said 3-pack, and he didn't show what a 3-pack was. And I was just confused. I thought it was something different.
Yeah. I'm trying to find how I could pull your. Yeah, it's not coming up at all with your Google My Business over here.
Wow. How about that?
So it's just not wanting me to
Office, type
see.
in office.
Oh, yeah, that might do it. No.
No. How about that?
Just doesn't want to do it. That's again, this is Google's AI at work.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Like, what do you get when you type in Internet Dominators on your side? Do you see the same thing?
Let me try.
That would be interesting to see. If
Yep,
you,
same exact thing. I don't see your business listing at all. I just see some of your search results.
Okay, so you don't see what I'm seeing here?
Yep, I don't see your business listing.
Okay, yeah, that's proximity. They're showing results based on a lot of different things.
Yep.
This is Google it's a big old animal to try and understand.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'll interject on yours and mine match.
yeah, because we're basically in the same region.
Concur.
Yeah. So that's just more proof that, depending on where you're located, different searches will show different results. Like I get people a lot of times in when they're using SitePop, they'll say, you know, I see the search results on my output, you know, on my phone, but then I go search it and I see it in a different position. And I'm like, yeah, there's everybody that searches it is going to be seeing different results. So the ranking that you see in the SitePup, and you know, when you look at the report, that rank is based on the last device in the network that ran the search where it found the site. So that could be very different than where you run it, you find it, you know, yourself. So cool stuff.
Well, jumping off on that 3-pack, when I run Losers Become Winners, and it's off my laptop, my videos show up on page 1 just below the question and answers box that you just showed. So I'm curious, if Russ was to type in Losers Become Winners from his location in the other part of the country, would he be looking at the same thing? Of course not.
Probably not.
but
I am not. All I see is search listings, and you don't even show up.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No.
But when I go to videos, but then again, it's all from my laptop. I really would like to have an experiment where people who do it from different laptops to get a feel.
Yeah,
Of,
that's where optimizing for particular keywords, and then based on the keyword when somebody searches it, you know, the more solid you get on that, it almost like it percolates, it radiates out from the core. So you get it really good for your home, and then, you know, as it radiates out, as you do more and more optimization, it spreads. You know, it spreads the word. If your keyword has absolutely nothing to do with a location, if it's like, say it's a product-based keyword, Google's AI is going to understand that's not based on proximity, so we're not going to hold proximity in great regard. So it's like, that's the awesome part about their algorithm now, is it is based on user experience. The users are telling Google what they want. Google's learning from it and creating a better output. It's creating a better environment for everybody. Understanding it is the key to SEO in the future. You know, understanding what users are doing and how that's affecting, you know, the search results. That's the magic right there. That's why we created SitePop, to help manipulate that result. So,
Now for Gregory, if I go in and type in Losers Become Winners and click on videos, I kind of narrow it down that way, narrowing it down by videos, then all his YouTube videos would show up.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it depends on exactly what you're looking for. You can find it, it's just how.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he's got videos, so if you go into the video section, naturally Google is going to show his, because they're probably the most relevant for that term.
Right.
So,
Thank you, Russ.
yeah, so cool stuff. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here for today. We'll be back on, I believe we'll be back on regular time next week as well. So you guys have a great week. If you come across anything, Callie actually came across something really cool. The Smithsonian is allowing free images. So if you need like stock photos, I put the link in the resources section in the ACT program. So if you want the link to it, or you can probably Google it, Smithsonian images, and really cool stuff. So if you need free images, you got a new source. Thanks to Callie. All right, guys, have a great week, and we will talk to you next week.